It's the last day of July 2026, and before I get into today's message, I want to introduce you to my new addition to my wall. So I got myself a Kit Kat clock, thanks to Philippa Evans of a local store named Pentimento. So went in there the other day, found this, and just had to have it, and I love that it's right next to my gram. I want to talk to you today about something that's very easy to do, but very bad for you. Okay. I want one of the easiest things for us to do, and one of the most harmful things for us to do, is to hate. To hate. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. Not a single human being was born into this world wanting to hate another human being. Right now, out of my 47 years on this planet, this is the time of my life where I see so much hatred. Hatred for different people, hatred for other people, hatred for people on different sides of a political party. And I'm speaking to both Democrats and Republicans here, both of which I consider myself neither. There's a reason for that. But to consider yourself Democrat, to consider yourself Republican, and Republicans hating on the Democrats and the liberals hating on the Republicans and the MAGA. You know what? That's so easy. It's so easy to hate. It takes almost zero thought to hate. It takes almost zero thought to hate. You know what's hard? Thinking. Thinking is difficult. Looking at somebody that might be different than you, or think differently than you, and just automatically throwing the hate at them. Hate them, hate them. I don't know how many times that I have seen in my life, especially on social media. Well, if you feel a particular way about X, get me out of your life. Unfriend me now. There's no thought. There's no trying to find common ground. Now, I will say that there are some people in this world that are unreachable, that are unteachable, that they absolutely will find these thought patterns that they pick up from somebody else and they just carry on. You know, I think about people who are homophobic. Nobody was born into this world hating gay people, racist, sexist, transphobic. Nobody was born into this world wanting to hate women, hate people of color, hate transsexuals. But they're exposed to a belief system somewhere along the way that they pick up, they absorb, they read, they see, they listen to, and they internalize it, and then they just pick up from where somebody left off. That's so easy. It's so easy to do that. It takes very little thought to call into question, what am I being exposed to? What am I looking at? I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm not making excuses for people who are full of hate and vitriol. I am absolutely not. And what I am asking you to do is to think for a moment, if you have hatred of any kind in your heart, what that's accomplishing for you. What that's accomplishing for you. What is it doing for you? Now, on social media here, you'll see outrage after outrage. You know, it's like outrage du jour. Okay. These machines and these systems are designed to divide us, to outrage us. Okay. What is it doing to your body, though? When you are looking at something, you're reading something, you're looking at the news, and you have an outrageous reaction to, I cannot believe that person would think that way, or, you know, and you're having this stress reaction. What is stress doing to your body? I'm not asking you, you know, okay, so like Jesus said, love your neighbor. Well, it's going to be hard for some people to love their neighbors, especially if they are racist, homophobic, transphobic. So if you can't find love for somebody, do your best to at least be indifferent to them. Don't get caught up in that cycle of hatred. I want to introduce you to something that is very near and dear to my heart, and it's something that I actually put into this book of mine. So The Secret to Life Ain't So Secret. There is a section in here where I talk about dogs with rabies. Now, why would I use that? Okay. Dogs, okay, with rabies. Think about that. Most people love dogs, and most people would feel sorry for dogs who got rabies. For the people who pick up these really awful thought patterns, for these people who pick up these awful belief systems because maybe they weren't given the ability to critically think, I'm not going to hate them. I'm going to feel sorry for them like I would a rabid dog. But I'm not going to let them in my house. I can feel sorry for the creature that has rabies. I absolutely feel sorry, especially when it needs to be put down. But I'm not going to let it in my house. I'm not going to let it in my head. I'm not going to let it in my heart. The easiest things for human to do is to hate. And if you want to talk about spiritual forces, the devil, if it exists, which I do not believe the devil as an entity exists, I believe the devil exists in us as fear and hatred, especially of other people. And I've seen so many people, well-meaning people, people that would consider themselves enlightened and full of love and full of intelligence, to just hate others, to just throw hatred at other people. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to have dinner with them, but be careful that you're not feeding into the hate and fear machine that wants to divide us all. I know that this is going to land for somebody out there. I know that somebody out there right now is looking at news, reading social media, just full of the stress and adrenaline reaction. What good is that doing? Now, with that being said, why don't you get some vitamin joy? Like that clock brings me right up there. A little bit of vitamin joy. I know if you can't love your neighbor, then do your best to not hate them. Okay. Let's just see what tarot has to say about this idea of hatred. Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune does talk about destiny. It does talk about, to me, the idea of this roulette wheel factor in life, where sometimes there's chance, sometimes there's circumstance. It also does talk about destiny. And imagine, in the large scheme of things, how sometimes things need to get bad before they get better. That's how I see this. You know, in America right now, there's some really awful things going on. Hate and vitriol and people just acting like the basest versions of themselves. Well, where's it going to get you? You got to remember the pendulum swing. The pendulum swing. The pendulum's going to swing left. It's going to swing right. Hopefully, as it does, we find the best version of ourselves. And I can tell you, finding hate for your neighbor, finding hate for a political party, hating on something, it's not healthy overall, especially for your body. And I can only imagine, you know how like stress is the great inflammatory killer of us all? I can only imagine how many people over periods of time have immersed themselves in hatred and done awful things to their body. I'm convinced that 5-10 years from now, we're going to have an awful epidemic of cancer just because of what it does to a person's body. So be careful that you don't get caught up in the machine. Don't get caught up in the fear machine. I know that there's somebody out there today that needs to hear this because this is a message that I got. I also want to remind you that my tarot course is coming up on August 5th and 6th. You can find my readings, my podcast, my books, and that tarot course online at joshsimons.com.